Hey, What the Suck family. As you may have noticed, we recently switched to Anchor for our podcast hosting needs.
That's right. We were using another site that had us paying $20 a month for services such as unlimited uploading, unlimited hosting, and distribution. Anchor will distribute your podcast to Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and many more, and they do it all for free.
They make it super easy to create and start your podcast directly from their site. You can record and edit directly on the Anchor website or app directly from your phone.
It's your one-stop shop for everything you need to create your own show. They will even help you find sponsors to fund your project.
Just go to anchor.fm and get started today. There really is no easier way to do it.
What? No. You suck.
Hey guys, welcome back to What the Suck. I'm Chris.
And I'm James.
So for today's episode, number 9, we have a movie that is kind of boring, but not boring in a bad way. Boring in a way that doesn't usually fit our type of movie. And today's movie is The Hunting Grounds. Before we get into the movie, let's go over the rating system real quick.
Okay.
How we rate our movies, because the goal of this podcast is not to dissuade you from watching these. Every movie deserves a watch, no matter how bad it is.
That is correct. All movies need a little bit of love. Somebody out there, regardless of how bad it was, worked real hard in putting these together, even if the finished product completely sucks.
And some worked a little less harder than others, but they still worked. So, all right. So we are basing our ratings on emojis, shit emojis, I should say.
Shit emojis.
Best out of 5. So 1 out of 5. If we rate the movie a 1, that means keep it in your queue, share with your friends frequently, and it's so bad that it's good. So our rating system is reversed. Instead of 5 being a good movie, a 1 is a good movie, because the less shit emoji it has, less shitty it is.
That's correct.
The better the movie is. So 2, if we do 2 shit emojis out of 5, watch it with your friends, but you're going to need to play a drinking game with it.
Yeah, you're going to need a little painkiller.
Number 3 out of 5, you share it with your friends, watch it with your friends, but you're going to be drinking a lot more heavily. So you might want to switch from beer to a liquor.
Yeah, you might want to hit some tequila shots or a little, what is that? What's that?
Some fire.
Kawaka?
Or some Fireball, maybe.
Yeah.
Some Fireball going. 4 out of 5 shit emojis means you bring it out on special occasions. You know, you bring it out during Halloween. You bring it out during your ex-girlfriend's birthday. You know, special occasions that you want to, and you share it with friends that you don't like because it's bad.
Because you may not have them after the show.
Exactly. Or if you want to get rid of them, you show them that one. So then the 5 out of 5. Ooh, boy.
That's the king of shit.
That's bad. You watch it once with friends if you'd like. But it's so bad, it's bad. It's not so bad, it's good. It's so bad, it's bad. Then you smoke or snort. Do whatever you need to get it out of your memory.
Yeah, you definitely want to do something to just, like I say, watch it once. We want you to watch. And we say that every episode. Please watch the movie at least once and rip it to shreds.
Yes.
And a 5 turd, yeah, man, I'm going to tell you what.
That's painful.
As a matter of fact, I think our first 5 turd, or at least my first 5 turd, was last week.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. You waited till episode...
It was Clownter guys.
Episode 5 to give a 5. What do you know?
That's right.
There you go.
That's right. I don't want to pull that out, but I guess
it was pretty bad though.
Figuring, down the road we're probably going to have, like you said, a lot of 5 turds.
Oh yeah. So also that being said, before we get into the review, just want to give you guys a spoiler warning. We will be going through the entire movie, so if you haven't watched the movie yet and you don't want to be surprised, which there's not a lot of surprises in these movies, they're pretty bad. But stop the podcast, go watch it, then come back and check out the review.
Yep.
All right, so today's movie is Hunting Grounds. Hunting Grounds premiered. The release date was February 20, 2015 in the Nevermore Film Festival. It played at film festivals throughout 2015 and 2016 under the original title of Valley of the Sasquatch. When it was acquired for U.S. distribution, they changed the name to Hunting Grounds. Why? I don't know. I think
Who
Valley of the
knows?
Sasquatch is a better name, personally.
Well, once we get into the movie, I think the whole hunting grounds theme will come out. People will know what it means. It's not what it sounds like, but it is related to the Sasquatch. And
Yeah.
I do believe a lot of this was taken from accounts of real,
Yes.
real
Actual
sightings or
sightings and
encounters.
encounters. Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
written by John Portanova, and it's Portanova's debut. And he's a Washington native and a Bigfoot fan.
Yep.
And he included a lot of local stories from Washington in his screenplay. And shooting took place entirely on location, including the Snoqualmie Pass, and Meany Lodge.
And me as a Colorado fan, I'm a Colorado man. I grew up in the mountains when I was a kid. I absolutely loved this movie from the beginning. Now, whether that holds up or not remains to be seen. But I'm going to tell you what, the scenery is gorgeous. The setting is excellent. I love movies set in the woods and stuff like that. But I will go ahead and read the synopsis real quick. It's pretty brief. And it says that family bonding takes a back seat to survival when a father and son stumble upon a tribe of killer Sasquatch during a weekend hunting trip. Now, I've never heard of Sasquatches going on rampaging and killing and stuff like that. I have heard of abductions, things of that nature. People living with Sasquatches. I mean, I've heard all kinds of weird stories about the Squatch over my 50 years of living. So
I have heard stories of both types of Sasquatch killing people. I've heard of Sasquatch attacking people. I've heard of Sasquatch being gentle giants. I have heard both sides of the story. So
it's like
I've heard of Sasquatch disappearing when a hunter shot at them. They disappeared into nothing. So I've heard of Sasquatch being lowered down to the ground by UFOs. I've heard Sasquatch working with aliens to bring stuff onto their ship.
Really?
Yes, there's a lot of
Okay.
reports of Sasquatch and aliens sort of cohabitating. A lot of them seem to think that the Sasquatch are workers for the alien beings. Now, we're getting to a whole different topic here. This is not about paranormal. This is a movie review. But needless to say, yes, there are very, very many different types of Bigfoot that I'm like, for instance, okay, we're going to this again, but for instance, the skunk ape in Florida is supposed to be an aggressive Bigfoot. The Yowie in Australia is supposed to be a very, very aggressive Yowie. Bigfoot creature. So,
well, I'm a fan. That's all I'm going to say. Is I like
I am
Bigfoot, so I'm sure hoping this movie is up to snuff.
up to snuff. Good wordplay there. That'll come into account later. So remember up to snuff for later. Okay. All right. So directed by John Portanova as well. It was produced by Matt Medish and Brent Stifel. Stars Miles Joris Perafit, Jason Vale, David Saucedo, D'Angelo Mitty, and Bill Oberst Jr., who some of you might remember from Scary or Die.
That is correct.
And what was he in Scary or
He
Die?
was the first. He was in the first sequence, which I believe was the
Crossing Road. Crossing
the
Grounds.
Crossing.
Yeah, the crossing. Yeah, there you go.
Creep Show 3, The Crossing.
Nope,
he was
Scary or Die. You
was
said
it
Creep
Scary
Show
or
3.
Die?
Yeah, it's Scary or Die. Not
Edit.
Creep Show 3. Nope, staying in. Staying in. Yeah, so Scary or Die.
Okay, my fault. Scary or Die was the first sequence, and it was The Crossing, and he was the redneck driving the truck, and he was a very hateful white supremacist type, killing illegals on the border.
Yes. So he is in this movie. Music by John Bash, cinematography by Jeremy Berg, which really it's I guess it's not too hard to have good cinematography when you have such a beautiful on location shoot.
Yes.
I mean the like I said the area they shoot in is actually absolutely gorgeous, just gorgeous.
So,
edited by
Mr. John, don't fuck it up. all
Yeah.
right?
Edited by David Phillips. The production company was the October People. And like I said, it was released in February of 2015 at the Nevermore Film Festival. So,
Nevermore.
With
Well,
that-
apparently, because I never even heard of it till we looked it up. So, hell with it.
so
Wait.
with that being said,
Why don't we get on into
let's
it, brother?
get
Let's see
into
what
it,
we
dude.
got.
All right.
Michael, we're broke. Will's letting us stay here in exchange for fixing the place up.
Where's the cabin?
A few hundred yards that away. We're both gonna have to make do with what's been given to us. Looks like somebody ransacked the place.
I've heard stories. Stories of strange things being seen in the woods. Happened about 90 years ago. There was a group of miners working on this mountain. One night, they were attacked in their cabin.
We gotta stay alert tonight. What if they come back for us?
It sounds like they're pushing on the walls.
We gotta get out of here, man. That thing is still out there.
Help me. It pulled me into the woods.
It won't stop till it kills us all.
All right, so our story begins with a gentleman walking through the woods, and if anybody's watched the Scary or Die,
Yeah.
it's the gentleman from the first sequence. He was one of the angry rednecks. He was pretty much the
was
lead,
the older
lead
dude.
redneck.
Yeah, he was the one who was dating the girl. It's Bill Oberst Jr.
Bill
is the
Oberst
actor.
Jr.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Junior's out there in the woods, walking around, wandering about. Comes upon a camp that's been ransacked, tents scattered everywhere, and sees a guy sitting on a log. And goes to look at him, touches him on the shoulder, and dude just falls over, apparently a broke neck or something.
Dead, just dead.
And a perfectly formed, unattended campfire.
Yeah,
This, only,
still going.
Only
Yeah.
you can prevent forest fires, dude.
Yeah.
Unless you're dead, I guess. But anyway, he turns around, and before he knows it, he's face to face with a Squatch.
Actually, I think he's more face to chest with the Squatch.
Pretty-
Because it was a tall person.
A little bit tall, but at least
Yeah.
you saw the guy, you see the Squatch right off the bat.
Yeah.
That grabs him, and you think, oh, he's done for. You
Yep.
know, the other guy's goose was cooked, so you thought he was dead. Then the credits roll. Boom, bam, pow. And
Hunting
you're
grounds. Dun, dun.
Hunting ground. That's it. And it opens with a beautiful pan shot of the mountains and the lake and all this stuff. So I personally loved it right off the bat because to me it reminds me of home. I'm a Rocky Mountain boy. I grew up in the mountains. Loved it. The scenery was great. The photography was really good.
Yeah, it's really great establishing shots. Really
It
pretty
really
scenery.
was. I give them props for that.
Yeah.
I give them props for that. And so then we meet our stars, I guess you could say, or at least the first two, which would be Roger and Michael.
Yes, sir.
Father and son couple. You see them parked out in front of a store, their truck full of crap, and you're like, okay, what the hell's going on here? Well, anyway, they migrate up to this cabin in the woods, or should we say more of a shack?
Yeah, it's definitely a shack cabin, shabin maybe.
It looks like patchwork.
Yeah, definitely.
Basically, it's got pressed plywood on the
Particle
sides
board,
and stuff like.
yeah.
And the roof was pathetic.
Yeah.
And as we were making note of while we've been watching this, is the fact that roof would cave in Washington State because they get a ton of snow up there.
Yeah,
That would have
no insulation, so they
None.
wouldn't survive the first
no.
winter.
It's more like a hunting.
Would've-
That was a hunting shack. It's
Yeah.
nothing to do. It's not a place you'd want to live.
But they're moving there.
But yeah, I could do it. I'm a mountain boy. I could do it.
Yeah, these are city slickers.
But they're moving there.
they're
So
moving into the cabin.
apparently they're moving into it due to poor finances. Apparently the father is unemployed. Roger's a pretty lazy dude. The kid's bitching a little bit about this, bitching about that, wants to go to college. And I will give props so far. Surprisingly, the acting itself is not that bad, at least by these two characters.
Yeah, no, they do very well together.
Yep. Not much. I would say it doesn't have much of a horror movie feel to this point. You're like, okay. I mean, I guess, the movie has to develop, but it doesn't have the, I guess the build up. Usually horror
Yeah.
movies got some kind of creepy music or this, that, and the other, and this actually has normal music. And it's just kind of like a father-son bonding movie at this
Yeah.
point. It's like, okay.
I feel like with this intro part or the I guess the first 30 or 45 minutes of it, it's we don't really need to like go too deep into detail because it's so slow.
It's very slow
and so minimal that we can probably just do like a generalization of it, and that way we can actually talk about things we did like about it, because we actually found ourselves enjoying this more or less, even though it was slow.
In some parts we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because first of all, it's not corny.
It's not corny
you know, and it almost goes against our rule. You know?
Yeah.
It's almost like, holy crap, it's not that bad. Serious overdevelopment of the characters. Too much time. They strung it out way too long before they got to the good stuff. You know, so I was sitting here and looking at it, and apparently what had happened is the dad was depressed, drinking, because apparently his wife of 20 years had been killed by a hit and run driver, and apparently alcohol wrecked his life. It cost him his jobs and stuff like that.
Him and his kid into the poorhouse.
So basically, this poor kid is out there, and there I go with that basically crap again. Sorry, guys. I try harder every time not to say it so much, but you know,
fine. You're good.
But like I said, it is painfully slow paced. It's you know, you don't need that much character development. Just bring on the Sasquatch already. We know what it's supposed to be about. Bring it.
Yeah.
You know, we saw him in the beginning, and then you don't see him again for over an hour.
Right.
So they decide, I guess, to hunt. You know, they go hunting. You know, they decide they're going to take a hunting trip. So
let's not forget that his brother Will and an old friend Sergio show up. Much to Michael's dismay, because as much as he loves Will, he does not like Sergio, and we find out why.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid Sergio. He's kind of a dick.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't afford the dick. You can't avoid the dick. I mean, sometimes. Well, that sounds bad. Leave that in. Yeah, I mean, so they show up, and Sergio's just the biggest prick in the world. I mean, just from the get go, he's just a prick, and Michael doesn't like him. Will doesn't really like him, but he's a friend of Roger's, and Roger wanted him down this weekend so that he could kind of unwind and relax and have fun, because they're all still depressed. They're both still depressed from the passing of Michael's mother, Roger's wife, whatever. So they're there, and that night Roger and Sergio are drinking, and Sergio's just being an overall prick or whatever, and so Will takes Michael out of the cabin. They go to view a meteor storm, and the next day they decide to go hunting. Because Roger and Sergio want to go hunting. So they go hunting.
And I couldn't help this, but I ripped this scene to shreds, because for meat and, you know, for actual food, I used to hunt when I lived in Colorado. You know, I'd go get a deer or an elk or something like that.
Okay.
And we would eat off of it for the entire winter, because, you know, up where I live, it was real tight, you know. So I was real critical of this hunting scene.
Okay.
First of all, they're running around, and they're sitting there in the open.
Right. Okay.
Munching on some loud-ass crackers or something.
Oreos. We're eating Oreos.
Yep. They treat their rifles like hell. They're throwing them around on the ground. It's ridiculous. I'm sitting there going, what in the hell are you doing? And then they get up, you know, they've got a buck maybe 50 yards away, and the guy stands up, and he's just scattering. You know, anybody who hunts knows they would take off. No, it doesn't. Yeah. So Roger hands his rifle to his son. He says, "Oh, you know, let him shoot it. It'll be good for him." Blah,
Michael
blah,
doesn't want to. He doesn't want to kill anything.
I don't want to shoot. I don't want the gun. You know. So basically, he misses. You know, deer takes off. So Sergio, being the incredible actor and courageous man that he is,
really
chases Mr. Deer down. I'm not going to let him get away, man. Like he's going to run him down in the woods. Doesn't know where he's going anyway, but it's all funny anyway. And anyway, he goes down, and he's chasing this deer, and he stumbles, falls, rifle goes all flying. He comes rolling down and notices chunks of what look like meat slung all over these bushes.
That's all over the
There's
trees.
Blood dripping down the tree. I keep waiting for the predator purr to come up and some heat vision. You know,
it looked like an animal exploded into a tree or something.
Okay, and we were led to believe that it was a deer. You know, I don't think it was, but
I don't think it was that deer. It might have been a different deer, but yeah.
And then, well, he does anyway. He goes back up there, talks to him. He's like, I don't know, something's going on out here. So he says, well, I got to go take a piss. So he wanders. Sergio goes into the woods again, goes down there to take a leak, and is sitting there, and something comes rumbling through the weeds.
What does he do before he takes a leak? What does he do with his rifle? That's so ridiculous.
He just walks up and drops it in the dirt.
Drops it on the ground.
I mean, $1,000 hunting rifle with a scope, and just drops it on the ground.
I think we've established these four are clearly city slickers.
These are city slickers.
No idea what the hell they're doing.
None. Well, anyway, he's starting to take a leak, doing his business. All of a sudden, here comes the something through the brushes. And anybody who knows anything about gun safety knows you do not fire at something unless you have clear sight. So he begins, being the city slicker type that he is, emptying his rifle into the wind.
I mean, he's just firing blankly into whatever is moving in those bushes.
Let's put it this way: if it was My Cousin Vinny, it would be the owl scene.
Yeah.
He walks out with a pistol and just pow, pow,
Exactly.
pow.
Exactly.
He opens up on it, and you actually see something get hit and fall.
Right.
Slightly humanoid in appearance.
So he could have just committed murder. He wouldn't.
Could have committed murder. Had no idea. Because that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it does. I mean, just as what's his face, Cheney. He murdered someone while hunting.
Well, anyway, these boys hit the trail again after he fired it up, and finally, after about 50 minutes, they finally get another shoulder. We get a shoulder shot of the Squatch.
Yeah,
watching them walk up the trail, and they're on their way to go pitch camp. So they decide they are going to camp for the night, even though everybody's freaked out. They're going to come and get us, man. They're going to come and get us. So they begin to pitch camp, which I am dying laughing because these guys are like, well, we don't have any tents, and they're freaking, we don't have a tent, and all this other stuff. No, we're going to sleep on the ground, blah, whatever. Cool. So they start setting up, but this part cracked me up because he sends them to get firewood, and I don't know why it tickled me so much, but this kid is picking up little twigs.
Kindling, yeah, he's not
he's
getting
just getting
wood.
He's not getting any wood.
City slicker. It's like, get wood, he just grabs whatever sticks are on the ground.
But that's not what got me the most. He's got this little tiny handful of this kindling stuff.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you feel the building music coming up, and he's actually doing a pretty good job of like a city boy, how he would feel if he was like out of sight of his campsite. He's out gathering wood, and he starts to get freaked out because he's in the woods, and he can't see. And he actually does a pretty good job conveying that fear.
Right, yeah.
And then he slowly starts to spin around, and you say, oh God, here it comes. Turns around, sees his buddy Will. His friend Will was out there, and he lets out the second most hilarious Jesus Christ I've ever heard.
Yeah.
The first one being Matthew Perry in Fools Rush In.
Oh yeah.
On the stairs.
Yeah.
The Jesus.
Yeah.
But the way he says it, Jesus Christ, the way he says it, that just cracked me up.
Yeah, that's absolutely hilarious. Yeah.
So you take it. Take it, my brother.
Yeah, I do want to talk about, we talked about the characterization, the first 30, 45 minutes are just characterization, getting to know these characters and what motivates them. What I will say is interesting is that it does it, but there's not a lot of exposition, and even like Hollywood movies, they fall into this trap where they have what's like an exposition dump. I get that right. That's staying in, and they it's this really cliche thing where there's two characters, like for instance in this movie, father and son, Michael and Roger, and one will say something, and then the other will spout some sort of exposition that the other character, the first character, should know already because he was involved in the situation, but he's spouting it for the audience so that we as an audience can know the backstory or the history or whatever. And it always sounds very forced, and it sounds very fake because it's not natural conversation.
No, it's not my fault that your mother was out in the street and that guy came along and hit her and then took off and didn't give her any help and blah 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 or whatever.
Exactly.
They feel they have to slip it into the dialogue, an explanation for the audience to catch you up to speed, so you actually know what the hell they're all talking about.
Exactly, and this movie doesn't do a lot of that. It mentions like a funeral at one point, but they don't stop and go into the specifics of the funeral. The father mentions like or not that, but you see like the son pulls out a picture of this woman, which you just assume is the mother. That's not in the picture, not in the movie at this point, but it does a really good job of not force feeding you exposition, but it does take a little bit too long, at least in this first part, to get the characterization. Now, saying that, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because as I mentioned to you, even though it took a while to get to the actual meat and potatoes of the film, I actually did, for at least the first 20 minutes or so, found myself interested in the story, what was going on.
Absolutely.
The actors who play Michael and Roger, they actually do a really good job. Michael is not the typical kind of teen you see in a horror film. Like, you don't hate him. You kind of identify and you kind of feel for him, because, you know, he lost his mother and he's stuck with his father, who is not the greatest father. He's kind of a lazy slob, and he drank away the family's, you know, money. They don't have much money left, so they're forced to go live in this cabin. But it does. They probably could have cut it like by 15 minutes and it would have been fine. But saying that, it's the first 45 minutes are not that bad. They're a little slow. The characterization is long.
That's the worst part, though.
It
Yeah,
is
slow.
the worst part. Yeah, like I said, if they cut 15-20 minutes, I think the movie would have been tighter, because, you know, you didn't necessarily need to stretch it out that long. But they also had to do some characterization for the douche friend Sergio and Will. But I think they could have brought them in even earlier. Like, they probably could have just had them meet them at the cabin when they got there, and they could have had like a 5-minute scene of Michael and Roger driving to the cabin and done the characterization there in the truck, and then get to the cabin. Will and Sergio are there already, and then do their whole bit.
Yep.
Instead, we get, you know, them at the gas station, then them driving there, then them getting there, them working on, you know, the cabin, and you get a little bit of
and then Michael, with his unrest, he starts complaining. I want to go to college. I want to do this.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a shit situation that's not his fault. His mother was in a hit and run. His father drank him into poverty. So he's, you know, I feel bad for him. He's in a very shit situation that he has no control over.
And he is one of the first teenagers, like you said, movies that we just didn't hate right
No.
off the bat.
No.
You know, because they didn't stereotype him. He was actually a little more mature for a guy his age.
He's in a very bad place, and now he's having to live in this cabin with his dad. He has no control over it, and his dad won't even like let him get student loans, because he'd have to co-sign for him, and his credit is shit anyway. And so he's literally like up shit's creek without a paddle,
Pretty much.
you know. But I mean, again, you know, it's. I guess it's kind of give and take. You either get a exposition dump that feels very forced in order to shorten the time it takes to get to know these characters, or you do like this movie did, where you don't do exposition dumps, which is fine. It makes all the dialogue seem very natural.
Yeah.
But then you have to stretch it out a bit in order to actually get people to connect with the characters.
Yeah.
So it's give and take. I mean, what's worse? I don't know, because I don't like being force fed information and not having conversation seem natural.
Yep.
But I don't like having to take 45 minutes to really get into the meat of the characters before shit starts happening.
Exactly. And that is why, thank goodness, about 50 minutes in, when they finally decide to pitch camp for the night, they light the fire. They put the food in the bag. They said, let's put the food in the bag in a tree. They put the food in the tree. And in the middle of the night, Michael wakes up, looks over, and behold,
We have a Bigfoot.
we have a Bigfoot, thank God, but he's actually jacking the bag.
He's I mean, they put
He's
it up high,
to,
but
he's
Bigfoot's
trying to
tall,
jack the food.
so yeah.
He's trying to jack the food, so he starts to freak out, and then
He like rolls over. And what I thought was actually a pretty cool scene. He rolls over, and when he rolls over and looks up, there's actually a Bigfoot leaning over,
right in his face,
like maybe 6 to 8 inches from his face, just look at him. I thought that was actually pretty creepy, because I did not see that coming.
yeah,
I usually can usually pick out a jump scare way in advance, and that wasn't really like a jump scare. It was more of a creep factor.
because you saw the fur.
Right.
You know, when he looked up, you saw the fur, and you're like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah.
But you're not like, "Oh god, cheesy jump scare attempt,
there was
crappy music."
There was no jump scare music. There was
Yeah.
no like all of a sudden like a loud burst of music. There was no quick cut to the creature's face or whatever. It was just he rolled over and it was just there.
And then what do? They get up, they freak out, and they start shooting in every direction.
Yeah, luckily they didn't hit anybody.
Luckily it's unless I wish they might have got Sergio.
Yeah,
hit him by
I
accident.
tell you what, I really cannot wait for Sergio to die.
Yeah, he's got.
I
to
want
go.
him to die so bad.
He's got to go. All right, so basically, when they get done with the the campsite panic scene, they gather and they flee, grab all their stuff, and they haul ass, and they go down to what looks like a construction site or something. There's some heavy equipment parked out in the woods. There's a generator running and lights.
Yeah, that's where Sergio is supposed to be watching the equipment because he's with that logging company, but he has his dealer, his quote-unquote dealer, watching the site for him so he can go and drink and all his dumb shit.
So they go up there. They hear the noise again, and Roger, the dad, walks over there and takes a look, and all of a sudden you hear some sticks cracking, and you hear, "Oh!" Of course, yeah.
Little Wookie going on back there.
Well, anyway, they run over there to see what's going on, and you see Roger clinging to a rounded edge piece of heavy equipment somehow with his fingertips while being tugged on by an unseen creature,
which we know is a Bigfoot.
assume is a Bigfoot. That is correct.
Yeah.
So he ends up snatching him. They take off running, and instead of pursuing, they retreat to the cabin.
Chicken shit back to the cabin.
They chicken shit back to the cabin. Absolutely. They withdraw. They get back in the cabin. They shut the door, and they're standing in there, and they start arguing with one another, especially Will and Sergio, because Will wants to go after him. Sergio's like, "No, if I go out there, it might get me too." Real bitch move.
Oh yeah, real bitch move. He's a real fucking pansy.
So they get pissed off. He's pointing the gun at him and stuff like that. And what it is he wants to leave. So Will's like, "Give me the damn keys," and he goes to grab for the keys. And what happens, Chris?
Will throws a punch at him in a very bad choreographed fight, and Sergio pulls out his fucking plastic knife he had earlier and stabs Will, and then Will stumbles back and he looks at his wound, and then I guess pissed off he goes to jump at Sergio, and Sergio stabs him again and fucking kills Will.
And the blood, I'm sorry, the blood was overdone. When he withdrew the knife after the first stab, it was completely
covered in blood,
drenched. It looked like it was just covered in jelly. The whole damn thing.
It looked like he stabbed a jar of jelly.
Yeah, poor effects.
Yeah.
But, oh well. Can't win them all.
So,
anyway, so then he buries the knife in his chest again because he comes at him to finish the job.
And then Will dies.
And he dies. And then Sergio points the gun at Michael and tells him to drag Will's dead body into the other room.
Which is just fucked up.
Yeah, it is. It's like, what great friends, right?
Yeah, seriously.
So he drags him in there and drops him down. And when he's not looking, Michael headbutts the shit out of him with a rifle and knocks Sergio out cold.
Yeah, good job, Michael.
And
good job.
Locks him in the room with a refrigerator.
A refrigerator, which I may add, is shorter than Michael. Michael's about $1.05 wet.
Yep.
But Michael is somehow able to move the fridge over to the front of the door. So if Michael can move that fridge to the door, it's not going to hold Sergio, and he'll be able to knock it off. Yeah, knock the door open.
So he's sitting there breathing. Yeah. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Sitting in the kitchen, what is, I would guess, designated as the
supposed
kitchen
to be
area.
The kitchen. Yeah.
It's like this one little chicken shit sink, no running water.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's sitting in there, and all of a sudden you get this feeling that something's about to happen because now music's starting to build.
And then he goes curious. He hears a noise, and he goes, looked out the window.
That's right, there was a thump.
He's looking out the window.
There was a thump on the house.
And then, boogity, boogity, boogity. There's a jump scare.
There's a jump scare.
But it's not Bigfoot.
It's not Bigfoot.
It's Bauman.
Bauman. He's back.
So Bill Oberst's Jr. from the beginning comes back.
Obviously, they did not kill him.
No.
He was just simply abducted, and he lets him in the cabin, where he begins to tell him the story while devouring what looks like some lunch meat.
Yeah, I think it is lunch meat. Yeah.
He's like a damn a damn mongoose on a rattlesnake
Oh,
chewing
yeah.
on that
Yeah,
damn
he's
lunch meat.
Just sucking it down, not even chewing, just slurping it up.
Anyway, he's telling him the story about how he was abducted, and I think this plays into the story that you told us at the beginning, which related to the abduction.
Yeah. And so actually, and I'm going to go back a little bit. During the campfire scene, Will is telling Sergio stories about the legends of the area to scare the shit out of him. And he mentions Ape Canyon, which is a real place. Yeah. And the story that he mentions about Ape Canyon is an actual story or a supposed encounter that did in fact lead to that area being called Ape Canyon. So Ape Canyon's are real. So that's one of the encounters or stories that the writer-director pulled from. And then the story that Bauman gives Michael is very, very similar, probably a good 50, 65% similar to the story of Albert Ostman, who was also abducted by a Bigfoot while he was prospecting, and he was held captive for, I don't know, like a day or two or whatever. But it's a very interesting story. I won't go into it here, but look up Albert Ostman, Ostman. It's a very, very fascinating story because it happened in 1924, so way before the internet.
Way before.
Maybe like 5 years. But like,
that's
way
95 damn years ago.
So way before the internet. And he did not even tell a living soul until more than 24 years after it happened in 1948 because he was so afraid people would find him crazy.
Yeah.
So this
back
man,
then they would.
Yeah, they would. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So this man held on to the story for 24 years. And the story he tells is absolutely fascinating, and you've got to go do the research and look it up and find it and read all about it because it's a great tale. So anyway, so that's the story that Bauman gives him, which he says he was kidnapped by a Bigfoot, taken to a cave where there were two other Bigfoots, held captive in there, tried to escape, wasn't able to escape. Finally, the only way he could escape was by taking out a can of snuff and
That's right.
offering it to the Bigfoot.
Remember what we said at the beginning. Remember that reference.
And offering it to the Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot, instead of, obviously because he doesn't know what it is, he just chows it down, eats it, swallows it, and so
starts to choke.
And so at that point he's able to escape. Not before killing one of them.
Yeah, it was only there with one at that point, and when the Squatch turned around choking and strangling, trying to spit the stuff out, he clocks him with a rock.
Yes.
Knocks him on his face, actually, and then sits on his back, and needlessly, I'm sorry to say, in this particular point, killing the Bigfoot at this point was not necessary.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, he was out cold. He could have got away because everything else was clear. But no, he proceeded to Negan his ass with that rock.
Oh, yeah.
He smashed his brains.
Smashed the shit out of him.
And somehow, blood squirts around this rock that he's got and gets on his face.
Yeah, big old rock, bigger than Bigfoot's head. And
I can always picture the stagehand right off camera slinging a paintbrush full of fake blood at him. But then he gets away and then proceeds
to the back, and somehow makes it back to sees the cabin that they're staying at. Shows up.
That's our 2 hours earlier.
Earlier
part of the review here.
Yeah, and so decides he needs to go to the outhouse. Asks Michael to go with him. While they're out there, they hear a noise, and then Michael's dad shows up. Roger shows up with his leg all wounded, but he has it in like a splinter. And then all hell breaks loose. The Bigfoot shows back up. The two of them show back up.
Yep, and this is basically the climax of the movie, a confrontation at the cabin.
Yeah, they grab Oberst, they grab Bauman, and rip his arm off Wookiee style.
They slam. Yep, he must have cheated or
cheated. Yeah,
beat him at chess or something, right. Whatever. While he was in the cave, we didn't see the whole thing in the cave, so he might have beat him.
He might have.
So.
And then it's the father and son are in the cabin, and Bigfoot somehow they get on the roof, which.
This is great. They're on the roof, but these are like 800-pound creatures, and the plank roof, there's no way in heck it could hold.
No, it would have fallen right through.
Yep.
But one of them manages to punch its hand through the roof. He grabs the gun, and so while the Bigfoot's holding the gun. He grabs an axe and he starts chopping the arm off the Bigfoot, and the arm looks very, very bad. The whole chopping part looks it's very bad special effects. It's very minimal special effects.
And another problem I had, the biggest problem I had with the way the Sasquatch were portrayed in this movie is that a normal sized man has any physical chance against one of them. First of all, they're massive. They're 7-8 feet tall.
Yeah.
6, 7, 800 pounds.
Right, they're huge.
They'd throw us around like rag dolls.
Yeah, they fight bears and they win.
But yet he's grabbing this rifle and the guy's actually able to hold on to his arm while he's chopping it. Yeah. That thing would have yanked him through the roof.
Yeah, so
I'm sorry.
The strength is very disproportionate.
That didn't work for me. That part kind of pissed me off. I was like, no, it's not realistic. It should have pulled him and slammed him against the roof a couple of times.
Exactly.
To get him off of him. But no. Poor effects. Chopped his arm off.
So, I mean, after this, there's not really all that much to it. The father and son are able to get back to the truck, and they're able to get away, and that's pretty much it. The Bigfoot's
That's pretty much it, yeah. And what it is the last scene is that right before they get to the truck, they get grabbed by two of them, and the one with no arm tries to grab the dad again, so he pulls the stick out of his splint, sticks it in his arm, and for some reason that bleeds that Bigfoot out. He drops.
He dies,
He drops, and then the other one, right when he was getting ready to do something, the kid puts a gun on him, and the Bigfoot stops in his tracks and just stand there looking at him.
Yeah, somehow.
So what he does is he motions to him that I'm not going to do it. He lets his dad get in the truck. He throws the rifle away. The Bigfoot looks at him like, eh.
Yeah.
Oh, and I will add, the Bigfoot looks like Ricardo Montalban. I'm serious. The face makeup, yikes.
Let's talk about that real quick. So the creature effects, I thought the suit was okay. It's okay in wide shots because there's not a lot of detail to it, but the fur actually looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, from reports that I've read, Bigfoot's hair is kind of long because he doesn't go to a groomer very often because there's no Bigfoot groomers.
There's no waxers up there in the woods.
But also, it's not just long, but it's also matted because it's covered in mud and sweat, and it's also, just living in the wilderness. But so the hair looked good, better than a lot of times when you see these Bigfoot movies and they do practical effects, a person in a suit. The hair they get is more like a gorilla hair, so it's real short and it looks bad. It
looks like Belushi's gorilla suit from from Trading Places or something.
Yeah, exactly. So. I mean, so this actually looked good because it had longer hair, and the hair looked like it was actual hair, not fake hair. But the feet were pretty terrible, which it's really hard to do, like big feet because they're supposed to have like a 13 or 14-inch foot, and you can't really do that with a normal actor because you can't have their toes move or anything because they don't have that big of feet.
Yeah.
But the worst part, the part they should not have done, they did a couple of close-ups on the creature's face, and they probably should not have done that because it looked pretty bad. It looked nothing like the reports that I've read or come across of people who've actually seen the Bigfoot creature face to face.
Yep.
It looked, like you said, it looked like Ricardo Montalban.
It looked like Ricardo Montalban. When I saw that face, I'm thinking Star Trek 2.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap.
For our younger viewers, go watch Star Trek 2. They're at the con.
Look at his face when he takes his mask.
Khan, the main villain, that's who we're talking about.
Now, for my friend Chris, I am going to rewind just one little hair for one last quick detail.
All right.
Both of us hated Sergio's guts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's
and
right. That's
right before they ran off, we almost left this out.
Oh, my God. How did I forget this?
This is my favorite kill.
Yeah, mine too.
Sergio goes outside, gets knocked down on the ground because he's trying to shoot a Bigfoot. And he comes over, he steps on his back, and then moves his foot to his head.
Yeah.
And squish it. I love it. Stomps down his head. Nice, cheesy little zit popping effect.
Brain come out like squishing
and
the water.
And he was done.
It's amazing.
Evil was punished.
Perfect death for this shithead character. They just squished the shit out of his head, and it was perfect. It was beautiful.
It was absolutely perfect. But then fast forward to the truck. They get in the truck. They leave. The credits roll.
Yes. So
that's pretty much it.
That being said, what is your rating for this movie, James?
I am going 2 turds. A strong 2 turds, almost a 1 turd, but I'm going 2 because of the fact that it was so slow.
Okay.
I gave the acting fairly high marks because it really was not that bad. The story was great. I liked the story because it followed a good line. The script was decent.
Okay.
The effects were poor.
Right, yeah.
You know, for the most part, they were pretty poor. And the direction was not that bad. It really wasn't that bad. It was just too slow. So I gave the directing a little bit of a slower mark. The music was decent.
Okay.
So I'm going with 2 turds. A strong 2 turds.
Strong 2 turds.
The only reason I am not going 1 turd on this, because I really like this movie, is because it was so drawn out at the first.
Yeah.
You suffer for an entire hour of... There's no horror movie at all. This is like I said, we told you before, this is just it was like a bonding story or a character development to the extreme. And that's the only reason I'm going 2 turds.
Okay, 2 turds.
What about you, Chris?
2 turds, watch it with friends, but play a drinking game.
That's correct.
All right, cool.
Mustache game would be great for this one. You put a mustache on the TV, and every time Squatch's face hits
Oh, my God, that'd be great. But
That'd
then it would only be at the end, because there's only 2 shots at the end where you see his face up close.
This is true.
But you can do it for anybody, actually.
Yeah.
Do like a mustache, or do like... Get a shit emoji, and every time it lines up with Sergio's face, take a drink.
Booyah.
That's the official What the Suck podcast drinking game. Take a shit emoji, put it on your TV. Every time it lines up with Sergio's face, you take a shot for that shit.
There you
shot
go.
for shit. How about that? There you go.
There you go. How
All
about
right.
you, Chris? What do you give this bad boy?
I am going to give this Hunting Grounds, a.k.a. Valley of the Sasquatch, which I like that title better. I wish they had stuck with that title. As opposed to Hunting Grounds, because I don't feel like they were actually hunting them. I feel like they were protecting their territory. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. I am going to go with 3 out of 5. It's not really a bad movie. It's a completely independent movie, obviously, in every sense of the phrase. In every sense of that phrase, it's completely independent. It's charming in its own way. Even if the script is a little dry at most time, the creature effects are okay. Again, we said except for the face shots, that's pretty bad. They should have stayed away from doing close-up shots. It's not that entertaining though. Like we said, it's very slow in the beginning, but you do get a really good sense of like learning who these characters are and learning, why they're in this predicament. But it does kind of drag a bit. But I didn't have all that much fun watching it. I actually was invested in the characters for about 25 minutes, and it went a little too long, but I didn't have as much fun. So I am going to go with 3 out of 5, which means share it with friends, but pull out the whiskey. Drink heavily. So
Yep.
So all right, so we got a 2 and a 5, a 2 and a 3. So it's definitely worth watching it a few times. It's
It was the scenery that did it for me.
Yeah, it was the scenery. It was the characters were, the acting was
To me, the
was
set
really
was
good.
nostalgic.
Yeah,
so it kind of added a little bit to the movie for me personally.
yeah. But like you said, this really didn't kind of fall in line with the kind of movies we watch. But we didn't know that going into it because
It looked
like something we
looked like it'd be something completely shitty.
I mean, we've seen movies with better artwork that were far shittier.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's not a great movie. It's still a pretty shitty movie. It's just not as shitty. But again, like we said, the only thing that keeps it from being a 1 is the fact that it takes too long at the beginning. There's 45 minutes to an hour, and then it's not fun, and the effects are not good, but they're not laughably bad.
That's true.
Yeah. So, all right. So where can they find this, James?
Okay, we can be found on Facebook. We can be found on Instagram and Twitter under What the Suck Podcast.
All right. It's like what _ the
Yeah,
underscore?
if you just actually, I've done a search. If you do What the Suck Podcast or even just What the Suck, it comes up.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool.
So
That's good.
it's fairly easy to find.
Very simple.
I'll put the links up on the Facebook site to everything.
Okay.
At some point here very soon.
All right.
You can also find us we are on Castbox.
Yes.
Which is our primary site. We are also on Spotify and we are on iTunes.
We are on iTunes, and Castbox can be found at Castbox, the app on your phone, or if you go to the website, it's castbox.fm.
Yes.
Not castbox.com. That's a different site for a different company. So make sure you do .fm to
That
find
is correct.
Castbox.
Yeah, the links for everything is right on the site. And
Yeah.
every time we post a movie anyway, the review, there is a link provided straight to that particular review, so you don't have to go searching. You just
All right.
click and go.
Good to go, man. All right, buddy. Before we leave, anything else you have?
Nope. I just want to thank everybody for listening. We are over 500 likes on Facebook.
That's awesome.
Our Twitter following is over 250, and we now have about 140 on Instagram.
Yeah,
we are growing steadily, and we appreciate the support.
And we're only 7 episodes in, so I think that's a pretty good
Only
growth.
7. Hopefully, we'll get a few thousand there eventually. Somewhere.
Eventually, yeah. All right, guys. Until then, we will see you in the next movie.
That is correct. And this is James.
This is Chris.
Y'all have a good one now. We'll see you next episode.
See you guys.